Wow. 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 Eagles stunned in their home opener here in week 2 by the Atlanta Falcons. They go down 22-21 in a game that felt so easy to close off and finish, in a game that was right there in your fingertips, in a game where one play could have decided the game, could have sealed the deal. You could have ran the clock out. I know he's a pro. I know he's an amazing player, but Saquon Barkley drops a 3rd and 3 right in the breadbasket. That brings up a 4th down. The Eagles kick a 3, and Vic Fangio and his defense evaporate. Where did they go? I know they weren't perfect all night. You knew it was going to catch up to you, but are you serious? 6 plays, 70 yards to the house in 30 seconds? 1 minute and 5 seconds for a 6-play, 70-yard drive. I have not seen a defense get torched the way that it did in that final drive since Jonathan Gannon was over there calling plays on the sideline. I mean, I'm embarrassed. What do you think, Eagle Nation? I can't believe what I just watched. I'm literally coming up here prepped for the show. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk about 2-0 Eagles win. And they go down. How did they give that up? How did they let Kirk Cousins go down the field like that? Man, Darius Slay got embarrassed on that final touchdown play. Quinyon Mitchell got cooked on that drive. These guys were at least holding up their bargain, right? Like, they were playing the bend but don't break defense. That's the Vic Fangio defense. You knew it was going to come back eventually to bite you. But how did you let them slice through you like butter on that final drive? I am absolutely sick to my stomach. We have a lot to talk about, a lot more than I thought we were going to talk about here on a Monday night. Shout out to everybody tuning in with me, 11:30 at night here on the East Coast. I'm under the weather. Now I'm even more sick because this game just made me want to throw up. I almost went and threw up because the Eagles can't stop Kirk Cousins. And Vic Fangio, you're the main culprit in this game, all right? We're going to get to Kellen Moore. We're going to talk about the offense and their drawing up of screens to Britton Covey in the red zone. You Saquon Barkley in the red zone. Why do we have Britton Covey? I know AJ's down. I know AJ's hurt. Now he's going to be out for a couple weeks. Wonderful. Kellen Moore, why didn't you do anything that worked last week? We'll get to you, okay? Vic Fangio, I'm pissed. If there's one thing that I know about Kirk Cousins, if there's one thing that I know about football, it's that Kirk Cousins stinks under pressure. I said it all week. You throw some pressure at this guy. Matter of fact, we could have went back to the week 1 tape. We could have saw that the Steelers were in his face the entire game. That's why he threw for 19 passing yards in the second half in week 1. That's why the Falcons got upset by a backup quarterback. And you went out there and didn't bring more than a couple blitzes in this entire game? I don't think they blitzed more than 3 times in the whole game. I'm sitting there, I'm watching Bryce Huff, who's getting $17 million on his check, doing nothing. I don't even think he was in the game. The most impactful defensive lineman on this team was Thomas Booker. Do you know who that is? Thomas Booker. Shout out to you. I had to look him up. I forgot who he was. Former 5th-round pick a couple years ago. Got him off the practice squad. He was the most impactful defensive lineman because Jalen Carter is getting doubled every play. Jordan Davis needs to lose weight. And Bryce Huff is non-existent. Brandon Graham finally got to the quarterback. It ended up getting called back with a penalty. Eagles were absolutely undisciplined tonight. They need help. They need help on the defensive line. It's why when they let Hassan Reddick go, I said, what are you doing? This guy is guaranteed to give you double-digit sacks. People were saying, oh, it's the same thing as last year. Hassan Reddick had double-digit sacks. Bryce Huff had double-digit sacks, but what they didn't tell us is this guy doesn't play. He plays 30% of the snaps. All right, man. We'll talk about it. We'll get into it all. Welcome into Eagles Postgame Live right here on YouTube and Facebook. If you guys are tapping in, do me a favor. Like the show. Subscribe to the channel. Look, I don't want to be like this, but I'm pissed. I'm pissed. Look, if you're going to be in the chat, I know there's going to be people that say, hey, you're going too hard. It's only week 2. Listen, man, I'm frustrating. We can't lose normal. We can't lose normal. We got to lose on a 6-play, 70-yard drive that looked like thin butter. How could you not make one stop? Was that your game plan, Vic Fangio, on the final drive to let them come all the way down the field and say, hey, we hope we'll be able to stop them at the end? I feel like every time the Eagles play the Falcons, it ends up like this. Every time, other than the last time when we beat them 32-6. It ends up being like this every time. It's why coming into this game, I said it's going to be closer than you expect. I said 24-20 would be the final score. It was 22-21. We got a lot of questions after this game. I feel like a lot of it would have went under the radar, but now we need to talk even about the offensive side of the ball. We'll get to them in a second. I got notes here. I don't even need them. I don't even need them. 6 plays, 70 yards. How do you not make one play? How do you not make one play? I can't believe what I just saw, man. The defense needs a lot of work. The defense needs a lot of work. Let's go to that final drive. Kirk Cousins passed to Kyle Pitts for 11 yards. Kirk Cousins passed to Mooney for 21 yards. Kirk Cousins passed to Mooney again for 26 yards. Pass to Drake London for 5 yards. Incomplete pass to McLeod, and then a touchdown to Drake London, and Darius Slay gets embarrassed. It's been a while since I've seen a drive that bad. That bad. And it's like, even if you won this game, you could have cleaned up the errors. Even if you won this game, you could have said, hey, we're 2-0, but we still got things to clean up. But it feels like last year, how you're starting off sloppy and you're still finding ways to compete. But the Eagles have way more talent than they are putting on display. And it leaves a really salty taste in my mouth, because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. And if we have Falcons fans in here, shout out to you. Good game. But Kirk Cousins is absolutely terrible. I'm sitting there in this game tonight and I'm watching Kellen Moore. Terrible game plan from Kellen Moore. Did not really do anything that worked last week. I know AJ's down, but that doesn't mean that you don't use Dallas Goedert. You don't use Saquon in the red zone. I mean, really the most effective play tonight was Jalen Hurts pulling it himself and finding ways to fight for 15 yards. And I got to tip my cap to Jalen Hurts, because I thought he actually played well tonight and he didn't make the big mistake. He didn't make the big turnover. The Eagles didn't turn the ball over until the end when he threw the interception. Jalen Hurts did what he needed to do to get the win, but you're throwing all these kind of crazy route trees out there instead of keeping the game simple. You're going up against a really good secondary. You're going up and you got Judon bringing pressure every single damn play. All you got to do is find somebody in the middle of the field and let them run. But no, the Eagles complicate things. Jalen Hurts running around for 30 minutes. And I don't understand it, man. Kellen Moore, what was that? Why did you do nothing that worked last week? Literally, they were going to Britton Covey in the red zone. I don't understand this. Boy, oh boy. But anyway, back to the Falcons. I'm getting myself all out of sync here. The Falcons were even worse. Kirk Cousins is terrible. I don't even think the Falcons took a deep shot, other than the one play to Mooney that went for like 40 yards where Gardner Johnson missed the tackle. Like, they didn't even take a shot on your defense. So your bend but don't break did not work. It didn't work because you're bending. But the whole time that the Falcons were running it down the field, the Falcons, if Kirk Cousins was feasible, could have had 40 points in this game. All right? Your pass rush is non-existent. Your corners got cooked in the most crucial moments, and you couldn't get to Kirk Cousins one time. Like I said, from watching Kirk Cousins over the years as a member of the Commanders, as a member of the Vikings, Every time the Eagles play this guy, there's one quarterback who we have figured out. It is Kirk Cousins. And they did not get to him once. Before I continue to rant and go through the rest of my thoughts, let me get some thoughts in the chat, okay? Because I want to hear from Eagle Nation. I see a lot of people commenting in the chat. Thank you all for being here. Who's most to blame in this game? We'll start it off like that. Give me one person or one unit that is most to blame in this football game for the loss tonight. We'll shout some people out in here. We got Kevin on Facebook. What's up, Kevin? We got Iskander. We got Ryan says you don't kick that last field goal. Julius, what's going on? Dan, what's up? And another thing, now that you talk about field goals, is they gave up 3 points early in the game. And I thought that was a terrible decision as well. The game is 0-0. It's 4th and 4. I understand these advanced analytics and some guy sitting on a spreadsheet in a little cubicle is telling you to go for it because your percentage of getting it is all great. But 4th and 4 in the first quarter and you don't tack on 3 points, I did not like that decision at all, especially when you don't have your best playmaker in A.J. Brown. So you gave up 3 points. Those 3 points would have won the football game. But nonetheless, just some bad decisions in this game, man, especially from coaching. Let's see. We got Noel. He says defense and Vic Fangio. Ryan says coaching. Valerius says defense. ABD says defense secondary. Sean says Bryce Huff. Casper the Ghost. Oh, man. Defense was asleep in the end. Play calling, coaching. Good idea. Don't kick a field goal on the first drive. William says defense. Mark says defense. Tom says no pressure on the quarterback. Defense coordinator thinks the secondary is that good. And that's my thing, Tom. You know, Vic Fangio's out here acting like the Eagles pass rush is the best in the league and that just sending for the entire game is going to make an impact. I feel like I'm watching a Jonathan Gannon defense to the 5th power. There's just absolutely no excuse. I'm going to call everybody out. Jalen Carter, I know he's getting doubled, but hey, you got to make a play eventually. Jordan Davis, what has he done for me? What's Jordan Davis done? And Bryce Huff, okay? We really need to start asking these questions. Why did the Eagles let Hassan Reddick go? I understand the money, right? The financial situation. The guy can play. If you brought Bryce Huff here and you didn't know that Vic Fangio was only going to play him 40% of the snaps, we know he did that in New York, right? But he had 10 sacks. So you thought, okay, with this guy's potential, if he can become an every down player, he's going to have 15 sacks. The guy wasn't even out there. There was a play that they showed on this broadcast where somebody was chasing down a Falcon down the sideline, and Bryce Huff is like adjusting his helmet, walking. What are you doing? Are you going to make a play, Bryce Huff? We are now at the point, even though we're only 2 weeks in, where the crowd is going to start to get really antsy with Bryce Huff. You're the $17 million guy. You're the $17 million guy. You're supposed to be a leader on that defense, and so far, you have done nothing in 2 games. We gave you a break, though, for the Brazil game because the field was terrible. Come on, man. Come on, man. This is a game you had in the bag. This game was won. This game was won. You got Nick Foles' retirement ceremony. You got Jason Kelsey in the booth. He's going absolutely nuts. He's doing crazy dances. He's chest bumping Eagle fans. The environment was electric. And the people are walking out of the link salty, man. I mean, come on. How does this even happen? 20 for 29, Kirk Cousins, 241, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, 23 for 30, 183 yards, 1-1. Saquon Barkley dropped the biggest play of the game. He's got to make that play. I know we all love Saquon. I know he's a superstar. He had 95 yards on the ground, 21 in the air, over 100 scrimmage yards, but he dropped the biggest play that would have sealed the game. Can't do it. Can't do it. I can't believe the Eagles lost this game. I mean, they had a 9.5 minute drive from the third quarter going into the fourth. They ran out so much clock, man. 9:34, 17-play drive. And it resulted in a Jalen Hurts tush push. The tush push is the most automatic play in the game. You come up, you do it at the 1-yard line. That was before, because it was 3rd and 3. Jalen threw it to Saquon, thought it was a touchdown. Then it got called back, but it was at the half-yard line. So that puts the Eagles up. 2-point conversion. Hands it off to Saquon. Big play by Saquon. He stuck out the ball. When he leaped originally, got stuck. And the Eagles went up 3 points. Kirk Cousins and the Falcons go 3 and out. Then they go for it on 4th and 1. Bijan Robinson gets stopped by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You got Big Dom rolling down the sideline. Biggest play, man. I mean, that was a huge statement play by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. One-on-one with Bijan Robinson, and you stop them short. I mean, you're literally on their side of the field. Then you run a 4-minute drive. Brotherly shove is getting you first downs. And a 3rd and 3, and Saquon drops it. Eagles kick a field goal. They go up 6, and they get absolutely torched. I can't get my mind off of the last drive. Can somebody please inform me what the plan was on that final drive? Vic Fangio has to be held accountable. And I know he's been in the league for 21 years, and I know he's an experienced coordinator, and he's played with all these different defensive players and these different defensive schemes. I don't care. I'm tired of the bend but don't break defense. I'm tired of it. Can we just have an aggressive defensive coordinator? Can we just have a guy that's not scared to blitz? Kirk Cousins went untouched. This guy's coming off a torn Achilles. He's 35 years old. He has no mobility, and he looks like a deer in headlights when you throw pressure at him. Tough way to lose, man. Tough way to lose. RJ says soft zone is crap, and that's all they do, man. Playing zone. Zone, zone, zone. You don't have the personnel to do that 100% of the time. Terrible, man. No Else's tough one to lose in that fashion. Sean says terrible loss. Can't piss home games away to garbage teams. Chuck says our defense is so bad they moved to the end zone in 5 seconds. That's what I'm saying. It literally did feel like 5 seconds, Chuck. It felt like 5 seconds for them to get down the field and in. It's like they had nothing left. They had nothing. ABD says the wide receivers had too much cushion on the last drive. Yeah, that's an understatement. Sean says prevent defense. I'm so tired of prevent defense and picket defense. I'm tired of it all. All you had to do was throw an extra guy at Kirk Cousins. He would have threw a pick. Game would have been over. I want to talk about the offense, ladies and gentlemen, because although the defense gave this game up on the final drive and Vic Fangio was embarrassing, we need to talk about the offense. I'm just going through some notes here, and the one constant that I have written down, well, actually the two, is one, why did Saquon Barkley not get utilized in the red zone? Somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I don't think until the last drive where the Eagles were in there, where Saquon ran, I think, a couple plays up the middle, one was called back. Until that last drive, I do not think Saquon Barkley touched the ball in the red zone. Kellen Moore, I don't understand the switch up here. I don't understand it. The Falcons are better against the pass. You come out of the gate. Saquon Barkley was electric last week. You come out in front of the home opener fans and they're riled up. You don't run the ball once on the first drive. You go 3 and out in the first drive. You don't run the ball. Why? Why? 4 plays, 19 yards. 3rd and 9, Jalen Hurts kept it himself. We had a couple quarterback keepers in this game. I'm so tired of seeing that play. How many catches did Britton Covey have? 6 catches for Britton Covey in this game. That's the other thing I had written down. I didn't know Britton Covey became a number 1 wide receiver with the Philadelphia Eagles. Devontae did his thing, 7 catches, 76 yards, had a beautiful touchdown in the back of the end zone. I thought Jalen Hurts did his thing too. There was a couple plays, especially later in this game, where they needed him to extend, trying to figure out when that exactly was. It was like a 3rd and 11, I think. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, that was actually before halftime. Yeah, that was before halftime. Jalen Hurts had a 23-yard run. Then he got a penalty at the end of it for spiking it. And then after that, Jalen Hurts ran for 15, which got them in position to score a touchdown. Jalen Hurts kept the ball, was moving pretty well off the edge, and he made some good decisions. But then they didn't use Saquon Barkley in the red zone. Even though he had 22 carries, and I know they're talking about not overusing him, not burning him out, 4 catches for 21 yards. He had a productive game stat-wise. Jalen Hurts was the person that kept the Eagles in this game. And when they got into the red zone, it was screen to Britton Covey. Jalen Hurts scrambling around trying to find somebody instead of just an easy, simple slant route, a cross route, a dig route, just something to get these guys in rhythm. Dallas Goedert was a no-show, and I don't even know if it's his fault. He had 3 catches, but he wasn't used. Maybe they couldn't get open. Maybe that was the thing. Jahan Dotson, 1 catch, not even a part of the offense. They had to rely on Britton Covey. Grant Calcaterra had 2 catches early, then he went bye-bye. Johnny Wilson, crucial penalty near the end. Paris Campbell was in there. I mean, he couldn't even get any separation. I'm concerned with both the offense and the defense because on the offensive side of the ball, especially with AJ now being out for a couple games, is this what it's going to look like? Is this what it's going to look like? I know they ran the ball 37 times, but they didn't run it when it mattered. How many times did they get down to the red zone and come up short? Eagles went 2 for 5 in the red zone. Not good enough. Falcons only went 1 for 3 and they still win the game. 9 penalties has to be cleaned up by the Eagles. I actually tweeted out during the game, and I'm not kidding. Like, the words ineligible man downfield are going to give me a nightmare tonight. How many did they have? 3, 4 ineligible man downfield? Brutal, man. Brutal. Cam Jurgens, I know he had a couple himself. Becton got tossed a couple times. The offensive line, I don't think was exceptional in this game. I mean, Jalen was running for his life a lot. Jason Kelce was talking on the broadcast during this game about what Cam Jurgens should not be doing. I mean, they need to just hire Kelce as a coach at this point. But I just can't get over the fact that Vic Fangio did not present anything. Anything. They ran the same thing the whole game. Nick says Saints are going to dog walk this defense. And based on what they look like right now, yeah, they are. We have an issue on the defensive side of the ball. Eagle Nation, let me ask you this in the chat. And again, I appreciate everybody in here. What is your number one concern on this team right now? Is it a player? Is it a certain positional group? What's your number one concern? For me, it's easy. It's the scheme and the defensive line. They are nowhere to be found. I thought Zach Bond played a pretty good game in this game. There was a couple misplays. How many tackles did he have? 9 tackles. I thought Zach Bond held up his end of the bargain. Nakobe Dean, 7 tackles. The defensive line is an issue. They have nobody that can get to the quarterback. They don't try to get to the quarterback. Instead, they want to drop everybody in coverage and bend and try not to break. But as we saw in this game, they get to the last drive and having a defense on the field all that time wore them out, and then they had no clue what they were doing. I mean, that's just a simple miscommunication. And if I'm not mistaken as well, pretty sure they had like a 3rd down on that last play. Oh, no, that was the drive before. But, yeah, the last drive was just way too easy, man. 6 plays, 70 yards. Oh, man. That wet paper ass D-line is unacceptable. I agree, KS. I agree. Ryan says defense. ABD says lack of defensive pressure. Iskander says Jalen Hurts. Brian says defensive line is the biggest issue. Sean says pass rushers are like the quarterback. If you don't have them, you're not winning. Simple as that. Simple as that. And what looks even worse is that you let a guy like Hassan Reddick, who has had double-digit sacks for 4 years in a row, walk. And I know he's not playing, and I know people think he's a diva, and blah, blah, blah. Fact of the matter is the guy produces. He wanted to be here in Philly. I know you didn't want to pay him for 3 years, but that guy did a whole hell of a lot more for this defense than anybody is doing right now. When do we have the tough convo? When do we have the tough convo about Bryce Huff? Is it too early? Let me know. Because again, I was watching Bryce Huff for like 6 to 7 plays in a row, and he's getting bodied by one offensive lineman. He can't even beat one guy around the edge. Then there was another play, like I said, where he's just like walking down the sideline as they beat him. I think where I'm at is that the offense will be okay. Like they've shown me, there's a sample there that the offense has shown me that they can play and that they can click. But the defense has major issues. Like I said, Thomas Booker IV was one of the most impactful players on the field tonight. Milton Williams did have a big sack. I mean, law of average, right? You got to get to him eventually. Somebody finally beat them, and you know, that was the only kind of pressure we saw, and it was just, you know, due to a missed coverage there. But we have an issue on the defensive line. We have an issue. Brian says they get no pressure. They still don't put their hands up. Can't get to the quarterback. Put your hands up. Exactly. They don't do anything. I mean, Kirk Cousins was just sitting pretty in the pocket. What else do I have on this game, man? That's the game. That's the game. You did nothing. We think back to last year, right? Sean Desai, Matt Patricia, they did nothing to get to the quarterback. Jonathan Gannon, right? Team had 80 sacks, but still, or 70 sacks, but still. They were talented enough up front. There's no reason that 38-year-old Brandon Graham should be the main guy causing havoc on the defensive line. You guys probably aren't going to like this, man, but if I'm Howie Roseman, I go out and trade for Hassan Reddick. I don't even know if they can do it financially at this point now that they've paid Bryce Huff $17 million, but I'm trading for Hassan Reddick. I'm finding a way to make it work. That's what I would do. You come into a game against the Falcons, who did nothing offensively in week 1. Kirk Cousins looked like a statue. He looked terrible. He had 19 yards in the second half. And what do? You replicate nothing that the Steelers did, and you let them sit back there all day. And again, the fact of the matter is Kirk Cousins was not good in this game. The Falcons did nothing to test the Eagles' defense for 2.5, 3 quarters. But it caught up to you. Caught up to you. Final drive is just, it's brutal. It's brutal. Nick says the Saquon drop flat out costed y'all the game. The drop is brutal. Saquon, I'm sure, will probably say it in his own press game or post-game press conference. I'm sure Saquon will say it himself. Like, again, I love Saquon Barkley. You have to make that play. That play just lost the Eagles a football game, and that win could determine a lot. And you know what the worst part about this is that I actually just remembered, because like I said, I'm feeling a little bit right now, right? So my brain's like all over the place. The worst part about this, ladies and gentlemen, is not this game. It's not one game. It's the fact that the Cowboys lost, the Niners lost, the Lions lost, everybody lost. You had the perfect opportunity to get a leg up in the NFC. You had a golden opportunity. It was served to you on a silver platter to get that 2-0 record and get a leg up on everybody who's banged up, right? Even the Vikings won, banged up. Niners, banged up. Lions, banged up. Cowboys stink. And you blew it. and you blew it. Even early in this game when they went for that 4th and 4, like I said, those 3 points would have won them this game. It was 3rd and 4, and Kellen Moore, instead of handing it off to Saquon, right? So the Eagles used Saquon for like 4 plays in a row after they didn't use him. And then he shows, okay, I'm ready to go. Saquon, his first 4 runs were for like 9 yards apiece, and he's absolutely cooking. You get down to the red zone, you pull him off the rest, you hand it off to Kenny Gainwell 2 plays in a row. If it's 3rd and 4 and you know you're going to go for it on 4th down, why not bring Saquon in, which you did, and hand it off right up the middle? Get 2 to 3 yards. Then you do the tush push. Kellen Moore just got way too ahead of himself in this game. I feel like he was just always searching for the big play instead of just being methodical. And I don't know why coaches and coordinators do this. We saw it last year. We saw it the year before. These coordinators sometimes overthink. They overthink instead of just doing what works. Copy and paste. Frustrating, man. Tough way to go down in this game. Tough way to go down. Who else do we talk about? Like I said, Quinyon, I thought he was playing good for most of the game. Then he got torched on the last drive. Darius Slay got played for a fool on that touchdown by Drake London. Did a little hesitation and then ran outside. Slay slipped or whatever happened. I'd have to see it again. I don't know why they keep doing this, man. I forgot Josh Sweat. I just saw his name here. Josh Sweat. I forgot Josh Sweat was on this team. Was he playing tonight? I mean, it's unreal. They had Thomas Booker in. Who else? Moro Ajomo. The guys who are supposed to be your top anchors, your top dogs, did nothing on the defensive line. Now you got to play the Saints on 5 days of rest. By the way, they've scored the 4th most points in the first 2 games in NFL history. I'm not saying the Saints are legit or, they're a Super Bowl team, but damn it, they look pretty good right now. They look pretty good. Bijan Robinson had his way today. Eagles were having trouble tackling early in this game. They were letting Bijan get to the second level. If Bijan Robinson goes for 97 on the ground, and what do you have? 25 in the air. The Falcons rushed for 152 yards. If you let the Falcons rush for 152, what do you think Alvin Kamara is going to do? Eagles ran for 186, a $186, and they still couldn't win the football game. You're running that much clock off. You're extending the chains, and you can't win this football game. The offense was concerning today. The game plan, the strategy was the biggest thing to me, but I know that can be fixed because they have the talent. But my question to Eagle Nation, let me know in the chat, and I'll read more of your comments. Do they have enough talent on defense? Do they have enough talent? They didn't give up the big play. They let Kirk Cousins dink and dunk all the way down the field, and on the last drive, it cost them. Matter of fact, they got lucky they didn't give up a couple more touchdowns. I would have been okay with the Eagles losing this game, but the way that they lost it reminded me a lot of the way they lost games last year. And, man, it's tough to see them lose like this, man. It's really tough to see a team who is the better team go down the way that they did. Does the defense have enough talent, ladies and gentlemen? Willie says the Saints are going to put up 1,000 yards on this defense. Michael says, how wide open? He dropped an easy catch. KS says, no, the defense costed us the game. No pass breakups, no interceptions, no nothing on the last drive. Blink and the Falcons are about to score. I agree. Sean says they get too cute. 100%. 100%. Like I said, I came up here to prep the show. I'm already getting ready to talk about Jalen Hurts being 2-0 and making winning plays and getting this game done with. And I just see Kirk Cousins slicing through this defense like thin butter. Here's my final take on the defensive line. I know I've been preaching it enough, okay? Bryce Huff, if you don't make a play, next week or this week on Sunday against the Saints. I don't know if they're going to let you in Philly, man. Eagles are what? On the road for 2 games in a row, I think? They're not going to let you back in Philly, bro. We need to see something. I've seen no promise. I thought it was very weird when we came into training camp and Vic Fangio said, Bryce Huff isn't there yet. He's got to become an every down player. He's got to be, do more, make more plays. I asked him last week, Bryce Huff played less snaps last week than Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham. There's another one, Nolan Smith. Is he going to produce at some point? I thought it was getting weird when we heard these kind of things about Bryce Huff. But now I'm watching him out there one-on-one. He can't make a play. He can't make a play. I don't want to go too far yet and say he's done in Philly and this and that, but you better make a play, Bryce Huff. Jordan Davis, you better chop down 10 more pounds and make a play. Jalen Carter, you're great. You got to find a way to break through. There's no reason, once again, that Brandon Graham and Thomas Booker are your most valuable defensive linemen in this game. And even then, they couldn't get to Kirk Cousins. They finally got to him once. Shout out to Milton Williams. Brandon Graham got to him. Penalty. Too many false starts. Too many ineligible man downfield penalties. No pressure. And again, the bend but don't break defense makes me sick to my stomach. Prevent defense. Yeah, we're up 6 points with a minute to go. Let's not throw any blitz at Kirk Cousins and throw him off his game. Let's just sit back, let him come all the way down the field, but we'll stop him. We'll stop him again in the 10-yard line. We'll stop him in the red zone. Nope. Man. Kev says that interception from Hurts was horrible. Lost the game only 15 yards away from a win and an interception. Only 21 points. And Kev, I didn't even talk about that, but that's a great point there. I think I was just too frustrated after the last Falcons drive. But the Eagles start at their own 30. They find Goddard for 13 yards. And they're at the 43-yard line. So, you know what? You want to get to Jake Elliott's range. I mean, Jake Elliott can make a 63-yarder, right? So what? You're trying to get it down to around the 45, 46? You're trying to get it to around that 45, 46 range, and you're only, 20 yards away? 25, 30 yards away? Still got time. I think they had another timeout, right? And Jalen Hurts launches it down the field. I didn't even see that play entirely because I was so pissed off. But why? Why? I don't understand. Makes no sense. It almost reminds me of that Seattle game where instead of just throwing it 10 yards, they try to launch it downfield and they change the play at the line of scrimmage and, they were disobeying the offensive coordinator. Bad decision making. And I see Sean in the chat says should have run the ball at the end. And that's another great point. You guys, are bringing the heat in the chat tonight. 3rd and 3, right? Why not run it? Yes, Saquon should have caught the ball. Yes, Saquon was wide open. He is a vet and he should not make that mistake. But knowing that if you threw an incompletion, the clock was going to stop as well. You go and hand it right back to the Falcons. Incomplete. You have to settle for a field goal. And you didn't let 40 more seconds run off the clock. I mean, a couple of these bad decisions, they're the ones that you go back to your bed at night and you're scratching your head and you're like, damn, why didn't I do this? But they got to have some checks and balances here, man. They need to have somebody that is better at making these decisions on the fly. Nick Sirianni, I think, has times where he's really good at these kind of decisions, but there's also times where he's really bad. Frustrating. Michael says, I feel like Milton Williams should play over Jordan Davis. You know what, Mike? I agree. Milton Williams has shown more than Jordan Davis has. No question about it. Sirius says, where was our tight end at? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A game without A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert is nowhere to be found. Dallas Goedert is nowhere to be found. I don't understand it. Make sense of it. How come last week the Eagles were getting themselves into favorable third down situations by hitting Dallas Goedert on a slant or hitting AJ on a quick crosser route or letting Saquon get those little chunk yards and set yourselves up? How come they didn't do that today? I felt like they transitioned back to last year and Jalen Hurts was constantly looking for the big play and he's running all around and the offensive line can only hold up so much and he just runs right into pressure and either has to throw it away or find Britton Covey on the sideline. Frustrating way to end this game, man. It was a win. They had it in the bag, and they blew it. That's really all I got. Siri says, Hurts launched an overthrown ball. Dave says, prevent defense prevents nothing worse. Defense in football. I agree, man. It's frustrating. It's disgusting. Let's see if we can find some things here on Twitter because I feel like I've said all I need to say. Sean says analytics are killing sports. I agree with that, man. Like, since when was going for it on a 4th and 4 so common? I just don't understand it. Darius Slay reacts here on Twitter. He says, that's on me, Philly. I owe y'all one. Damn. You think, Darius Slay? You think big play Slay? You do owe us one. That was a miserable effort on that touchdown. Miserable. All right, let's try to find some more stuff because I need answers. I need to hear why Vic Fangio let them come all the way down the floor. Or, excuse me, down the field. Somebody just tweeted me this. Hold up. I want to get your guys' take on this. Like I said, we'll have a video out tomorrow with more stuff from the press conference, but according to Jimmy Kempski, okay, Nick Sirianni said that there was a mechanism on the 3rd and 3 pass where if it's not wide open, Jalen Hurts sits down and takes a sack. At that point, they would run the clock and then kick the field goal. Of course, it was indeed wide open, so he threw it. Hurts could have also ran for the first down too if that were there. So apparently they had like a safety valve. If that play was covered, if it was contested and Saquon was not open, then Jalen would have just sat down and took a sack and ran the clock. But at that point, why not just run the ball with Saquon? Why not just run the ball? Saquon could have picked up 3 yards. Saquon could have picked up 3. Come on, man. It's tough decisions like this that blow entire games, man. You knew it wasn't your best effort. You knew it was sloppy and it was gritty, but plays like this, like who has control? Who makes the final call in this play, man? Or is Jalen just out there improvising? I thought Jalen had a pretty good game. He didn't turn the ball over. He made the big play. Or he turned the ball over at the end, but it's frustrating. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Here's another one for you. Shout out to Brandon Lee Gouton. Bryce Huff did not log a single stat tonight. Through 2 games, he has 1 assisted tackle and 0 stats. Oh, boy. I'm trying to give you an opportunity here, Bryce Huff. I'm trying to give you a chance here. You've done nothing in 2 games. You've done nothing. Come on, man. Come on, man. Here's a good summation from Josh Reynolds. He says, not giving Barkley red zone carries, not kicking the field goal in the first quarter, not sending pressure the entire night, not running on third down. One of the worst coached games of all time. I don't care. It's only week 2. That's as bad as it can possibly get. Embarrassing. Wow. Yeah, you know what? I'm blaming this on the coordinators, man. I'm blaming it on the coordinators. Now that I sit here and process more and think about it, Vic Fangio, there's absolutely no way that was your plan going into the final drive. You let them come down the field in 30 seconds. Kellen Moore had no plan in the red zone tonight. You got the ball down there, what? I don't even know how many times. 5 times, they said. Couldn't punch it in because you didn't use your best weapon. I'm putting it on the coordinators, man. I agree, Josh. One of the worst coach games that we've seen in some time. If they took the points in the first quarter, they would have won too. It's crazy. It's crazy. I guess my final question for the chat tonight, and again, I appreciate everybody being in here, man. Be sure to like the show, subscribe to our channel as we continue to grow. My final question to the people out there is, are you concerned with the Eagles as a continuation of last year? Do you think that the sloppy play from the end of last year and maybe quitting on Nick Sirianni and all that, do you feel like that's bleeding into this season, or was just simply a bad loss? Coordinators have to be better, right? Because even last week when the Eagles won, it was still pretty sloppy. So I think the next couple of games are going to really be a telltale, right? They go to New Orleans, who's been on fire. They go to Tampa Bay, who's 2-0, who crushed them in the playoffs last year. So the Eagles need to win these next couple of games. They need to find a way. But do you feel like last year is leaking into this year? Give me your thoughts. I want to check the box score again, because again, Britton Covey had 6 catches in this game. I would have never thought that Britton Covey would have the second most catches in this game. How does Britton Covey have more targets than Dallas Goedert? How does Jahan Dotson only have 1 catch in this game? It's poor management, man. Poor management, poor game planning. Sean says, Laurie and Roseman influence. Why is Barkley out, Gainwell in at the red zone? Why do they hire soft scheme defensive coordinators? Sean, I don't know, man, but it's really frustrating how they continue to hire these guys that play soft. And I feel like even when the Eagles hired Fangio, it was, okay, he's the grand master of this scheme. He's the originator. But it's still the same scheme. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. KSF says we're going to be 1-3 going into the bye week. Sirius's red zone defense is stout. We need to score. Yes, absolutely, says Shori. Music says, yeah, it appears to be leaking into the team. KS says, yes, bad decision-making, losing to teams we shouldn't have lost to. Sean says, yes, I just don't think the talent is there on defense, especially up front. Sirius says, bad management. Coaching wasn't up to par. Our general did perform until it mattered. Avery says Cam Jurgens with those 2 down the field calls was bad. Yeah, I mean, ineligible man down the field. We got to have a whole practice talking about penalties and what you can and can't do, apparently. ABD says, not yet. I think they can still rebound. Last year's team just quit. I agree with that. They have a big test now, though, right? We thought coming into this season that they'd be able to start off 5-0, right? These games would be a breeze. No, Saints are not a breeze. and Tampa Bay is certainly not a breeze. They need to come out ready to go, man. If they lose these next couple of games, we're going to be in a tough situation. These games are a lot tougher than we may have expected. So that's my takeaway from this game, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've been saying the same things for the last 40 minutes, but it's unfathomable that you allow that to happen the way it did at the end. Wasn't a normal loss. It's not how I thought we would lose if we would lose. Can't let them come down like that in the final drive. Vic Fangio needs to be held accountable, and Kellen Moore needs to be held accountable for not putting these guys in the best position, not scheming guys in like Dallas Goedert or even Saquon in the red zone. It's a game they should have won, man. It's a game they should have won. All right, final question to the people out there. And again, Eagles post-game live, A to Z Philly. You guys are incredible. What do you think the Eagles' record will be in the next 2 weeks? Do you think they will win both games against the Saints and the Buccaneers? Do you think they'll go 1-1? Or do you think they will go 0-2 in the next couple of weeks? Because now these games are very, very important. What do you guys think? I'm going to read out a couple answers, but I got to give a shout out to our sponsor of our game day show, BetMGM. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up with our code ATOZPA and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to parlay selections, live betting options, player props, and daily boosted odds specials. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matter more than ever. So sign up today, use bonus code ATOZPA, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. Ladies and gentlemen, I just asked, what do you think the Eagles' record will be in the next 2 weeks? Do you think they'll win both games? Do you think they'll lose both? Where are we at? I think that the Eagles are going to go 1-1 in the next couple of weeks, if I had to guess. I think it's more likely they go 0-2 than 2-0. I think it's definitely more likely based on what I've seen from this defense in 2 weeks now, because it wasn't just tonight. It was last week as well. The defense needs improvement. They need better players. They need the defensive line to maybe show up for a game or two. And they need a better scheme. So to be honest with you, I have them going 1-1. And I would rather lean towards 0-2 than 2-0 until they show me different. You're going on the road for 2 tough games. And you're going up against 2 offenses that are hot right now. So until this defense shows me differently, I don't know. I don't know, man. KSF says we'll be 1-3, so you think we'll lose the next 2? Matthew says 0-2. Shorey says 0-2. Sean says 2-2 after 4 games. That's being optimistic. KSF says 0-2. NFC South is no joke this year. Dave says, I think they split the next 2. Sears says if AJ's not back, 0-2. Mayfield is on fire. Carr is on a revenge tour. Yeah, and talk about a nonchalant slip into the pregame, or I guess the start of the game broadcast, right? We hear that A.J. Brown's injured a couple days ago. Of course, Nick Sirianni gives us absolutely no insight or thoughts or nothing. He's just like, yeah, we'll see how A.J. feels. Then we hear from Lisa Salters before the game begins, oh yeah, A.J.'s going to be out for multiple weeks. So what does that mean? 2 weeks? 3? Hopefully not more. We need A.J. We need him. But just a frustrating night and a frustrating finish. And the Eagles go down 22-21 in a game that they should have won. They had it in the bag, but they get stunned. They get stunned by the Atlanta Falcons. And that is how they go in, 5 days now? 5 days of rest before they head to New Orleans to play the Saints. So that's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. As always, is the A to Z post-game show. A to Z Philly will drop videos every single day. Keep you updated on all the coverage. and we go live every game right after the Eagles either win or lose. And we'll be here every single week. So you guys are the best. Thank you for always tapping in. And hope you can get some sleep tonight because that was a really tough loss. You guys have a great night. I will catch you all on the next one. RB out. Peace.